Barcia. What's up, my dudes? Can Spency Boy get the triple in? There we go. Oh, man. Alrighty. Some crazy drama over this past Supercross race. And I really want to come in here and talk about this because this is something I've been trying to say forever. Okay? I am of the belief that AMA should just never get involved with on-track, like, aggressive riding and some dude taking out the next guy or whatever. Anything they do, like, contact-wise on the track, like running into each other, shit like that, I feel like AMA should never dock them. They should never, fine somebody for doing that. They should never, dock on positions or dock on points or really anything. And I know that may seem a little bit crazy, somebody saying that, and I've seen a lot of these different tweets out here, dudes talking about, this is kind of a hot take, but, let them race, AMA should just let them race. I don't even think, I think that's just like a normal thought process to think that of just like, I think this whole like collisions and penalties and aggressive riding, you got to either treat it one of two ways or it's going to be really unfair and unbalanced. And that's the way it is right now with AMA Supercross because they don't go one way or the other. They kind of play this like in the middle game a little bit, right? And so only certain riders get the real penalty and other riders don't really get as much of a penalty, and then it's not fair, and then it's not, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, a lot of people saying, well, Jason Anderson's a super aggressive rider. Why didn't he get fined? Why didn't he get docked points or whatever, right? So Justin Barcia took out Jason Anderson, and he got a $3,000 fine and docked 3 points, I think, right? And I do know that Justin Barcia, I'm pretty sure he was already on like probation or whatever for aggressive riding, but that shit don't even really matter. Still, at the end of the day, I feel like AMA just shouldn't get involved with it because now all they've really done here is they're kind of being hypocritical at this point, right? It's like, how do you go ban? I say ban. Shit, I'm thinking about video games right now. Oh, this ain't a 2-week ban on MX Sims, Fancy Boy. Get your head straight, boy. I don't know how they can go in there and give Barcia a points penalty and a fine when Malcolm Stewart and Jason Anderson and a bunch of the other riders have already done that exact same thing in this season already, and they didn't get that kind of penalty, right? AMA is just setting themselves up for a terrible, hypocritical, unfair, unbalanced system. That's all I can really see out of the way that AMA is doing this. It's like you either treat it like the Wild West and you let the boys race and you don't go in there and try to police the shit, or you police literally every single dude out there if he barely makes contact with anybody. You have to police that heavily, and then you would have to, penalize every person for even the remotely any little bit of aggressive riding at all. You would either have to penalize everybody for doing it or nobody for doing it. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, AMA is going to have to get more to like an actual decision or not a decision. They can't keep playing this in the middle bullshit because it's not fair, it's not balanced, it don't make any sense. And I get it, of all of the riders out there, Barcia is probably one of the ones that's the most deserving of a penalty for aggressive riding, but even still, even with the Barcia, I still would say they should not go in there and ever try to police the aggressive, how aggressive somebody rides on the track and how somebody takes out somebody else, because I can promise you Barcia don't give two shits about that $3,000 fine and losing 3 points. That is not going to change the way Barcia rides. Do you know what I'm saying? That didn't do jack shit. But my problem is what AMA basically did in this situation is they have now scared Jason Anderson from then being able to go in there and retaliate and pay back Justin Barcia in a future race. They basically now made it to where now Anderson can't go take out Barcia because now he's going to be too scared that he's going to get a penalty of some kind, like docked points or something like that. So you see what I'm saying? AMA has basically just, in a nutshell, they're over policing it, and they're going to get to a point where it takes away all the excitement of the racing. Even when I went in there and talked about well, it was shitty when, Malcolm Stewart took out Anderson, and it was shitty when Barcia's super aggressive and took out Anderson. Even though I say all those kind of things, dudes may not be racing forward and they're trying to take out the guy and they're too focused on taking out the guy or whatever. Even though I may say all those things, I always try to remind you boys that, even with me saying that, I'm not saying AMA should ever do anything with aggressive riding, because what it's supposed to be is, it's supposed to be the Wild West in the sense of you're supposed to make it to where AMA doesn't get involved, and then what happens is the racers will handle that shit, right? So what I mean by that is if you have somebody like a Justin Barcia that's just racing, way aggressive, he's been known for this shit his whole career, taking dudes out when he really doesn't have to. He'll run it in there like it's for the damn championship on the first lap of a damn heat race or something, right? All you boys know Barcia. And that's fine and all for somebody to race like that or ride like that. But you will get that thing called karma and that thing called payback. And, it can be a bitch, right? But my problem is when AMA tries to do the payback by giving a penalty, like some sort of points penalty, and then they go in there and they try to make it to where it's like everybody stops riding as aggressive. It's not as fun to watch. You don't have those takeouts. You don't have that aggressive riding, right? But if AMA didn't get so involved in it, what would happen is then your riders, your racers, the community of the pro racers would sort of come together and they would start riding hard back to that specific rider, right? And I feel like you've kind of seen that. Barcia is going to not ride as aggressive when he starts to realize all of the rest of the riders are pissed off at him for riding the way that he is, and they're going to race aggressive back at him, right? That's the only thing I can ever think of that would make Barcia kind of be like, whoa, this is not helping my points. This is not helping my title run right here. If I got everybody else in all these other pro dudes that I'm racing against, if I got all them boys pissed off thinking I'm this super over-aggressive racer and they're all going to take me out and they're all going to try to pay me back, then that's not going to help me out very much here, right? That's the thing that's going to slow down an aggressive rider from riding so aggressively and trying to make such aggressive, block passes and shit. That's the only thing that would make them rethink their shit. A little fine and a 3 points dock, 3 points from AMA, that's not really going to do anything. Do you know what I mean? But if AMA would sort of step back a little bit and let the actual racers handle the payback and the, if somebody's riding super over aggressive, then the racers can handle it on the track. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what you got to do, man. And I can't believe AMA has not really figured this out yet, but you can't keep doing this shit where it's like, well, this was over aggressive, but then this over here wasn't. And then we're going to dock this guy 3 points for this, but then we're not going to do anything to this guy over here for doing the exact same thing. The AMA can't keep doing this shit right here, dogs. They just can't keep doing it. They're going down this endless, never-ending rabbit hole of unfairness, and they're never going to be able to get that shit right. You know what I mean? They're never going to be able to do it unless they either totally step away from trying to police it or they police everybody. There is no in between, because that's what I've always tried to tell you boys. This has been my opinion from day one on this shit. Anytime somebody tries to take somebody out or pass somebody aggressively or, punt somebody off of the track or whatever. I've always said from day one, there should never be a official thing that tries to like police that or tries to limit that or tries to control that, because you can't control it. You can't, or then you would have to go in there and penalize everybody for even touching another guy in the corner. That's the only way you're ever going to be completely fair with that, you know? You either got to penalize everybody or nobody. That's the only way that it will ever be fair or balanced. So until AMA does that, this is going to be a shit show of unfairness and why the hell is this guy getting suspended and this guy's not, or why the hell did this guy get docked points and this guy over here didn't. You know what I mean? Like, AMA, you gotta pick a direction. You can't keep playing this in the middle. I'm tired of seeing it. Barcia should not have gotten anything for that right there, even though it was super aggressive. And yeah, he took down Jason Anderson. It is what it is, you know. And I'm a super Jason Anderson fan, but I can see the hypocrisy here that AMA has going on. Right? You realize you can't do that because they're never going to be able to accurately judge that. When one of the moments was too aggressive or not too aggressive, or when this pass deserves a penalty and that pass doesn't, like, there's no one person that can always perfectly, you know, like, handle that. There's never going to be a AMA official that's going to be able to control that properly without it becoming a super unfair thing. So the only way I see that you can really do this shit properly, like I say, is to either, you know, you got to either super police it or not police it at all. That's the only way I can see this going forward to be an actual fair thing. And if you get to the point where you've got everybody on damn probation and suspension and, you know, whatever the hell, like probation for aggressive riding, or this guy's got to be careful because he's on probation. Well, you start to take away the entire, like, fun of it in a sense, too. You know what I mean? That's what makes Supercross what it is, AMA. And you know it is because you post all that shit on your social media. You posted all that shit about Ray and Home Dog fighting off the side of the track. I don't want to say the other dude's last name. I don't know what YouTube would think about that. You know what I mean? Switzy boy playing it safe out here. You know, them dudes fighting, and then both of them dudes got, like, they couldn't even race in the main event, but AMA Supercross is, like, blowing that up all over their social media because they know that brings in fans. What do you think's going to happen when you limit all of that? And you limit the aggressive riding, and you limit, all that's going to do is take away the excitement. It's going to take away if you start policing it too much, it's just, you're going to lose numbers. That's what makes Supercross exciting. The takeouts, the crashes, the excitement, the rivalries, the drama, the Barcias, the Andersons, you know what I mean? That's literally what makes Supercross what it is. So when you start going in there and penalizing dudes and you don't just let them handle it on the track, I promise you it'll settle itself on the track, man. It always does. You know, if you get somebody like a Barcia that thinks he can just come in there and take everybody and their grandmother out, well, then they'll start taking him back out as payback, and then he'll stop doing that shit. You know what I'm saying? But when AMA comes in there and they start getting everybody all, like, you know, all, like, gun shy because everybody's getting on probation and everybody's getting all these points, you know, docked points and everything for aggressive riding and aggressive riding warnings and all this shit, it's going to have everybody so gun shy that nobody's ever going to try to take even a remotely aggressive pass. They're never going to try to run it in on somebody because they're going to be too scared that old AMA is going to come in there and, you know, drop the hammer on them. And then that you're just going to lose fans. It's not going to be as exciting to watch. I know it's exciting to watch close racing where they don't get super dirty too. You know what I mean? Like, you imagine like a Tomac and a Dungey racing side by side. You know, that's really fun to watch because a lot of times they wouldn't get real dirty with each other. And it makes a really good race. And I can understand that too. But there's also a lot of other times, just imagine a world in Supercross where nobody ever ran it up in on anybody ever because everybody's too scared that AMA is going to dock them points or positions. You imagine how much of a more boring experience that would be? You know what I'm saying? You just got to really sit down and think about that for a second. That's why I'm saying AMA needs to take the standpoint of just let the boys race. Let them race, step back a little bit, let them do their thing on the track, and it will handle itself. I'm telling you right now, it will handle itself. This is so unfair, unbalanced. I don't know how much more I can say about it. But anyways, this goes to prove everything I was saying about why these guys do not need to get any sort of penalization for aggressive riding, no matter how aggressive it is. I still stick behind that opinion on it, and I'm always going to stick behind that opinion on it because it's never going to work in the long run. You know what I'm saying? AMA is going to figure out something because they're right on that borderline right now of they almost got this shit to where they got it too soft. You know what I mean? They're getting too soft with it. They need to let the boys race. That's what makes Supercross what it is.